Hello students, last time we have completed three topics of the animal ecology. Now today we are going to continue with the same paper FYBSc Zoology paper second semester 1 animal ecology ZO 112. Today we are going to begin with the fourth topic from the same course, Animal Ecology, that is community. This topic includes the various points such as community characteristics, that is species richness, dominance, diversity, then abundance, vertical stratification, ecotone and age effect, ecological succession with one example. And there is one more topic, fifth topic, that is animal interactions. So this will also include subpoints, that is introduction to animal interactions, then types of animal interaction with at least two suitable examples of each. Then next point is competition. There are two types of competition, that is interspecific and intraspecific competition. And one more subpoint, that is beneficial association, includes commensalism in a remora fish on shark and cattle egret on livestock. Then mutualism, example is termite and trichonympha. Then bees and flowers, or cleaning symbiosis in fish by prawns. And one more or last point from the fifth topic, that is animal interaction, is antagonistic association, and this includes the term parasitism, and examples are ascaris and man, lice and humans, together with another point, that is prey predation, and having example of lion and deer. So friends, today we are going to continue with first topic, that is community, and first we'll explain the introduction to the community. Already we have explained the definition of the community, but still today we'll also go through its definition uh, and certain examples. So the community is technically termed as a biota. Community is technically termed as or defined as a biota or a biotic community. It is a local association of several populations of the different species. So the definition of the community is quite simple, that the respective habitat or a particular region or the place or a limited area which contributes or which comprises the biotic community in the form of uh, total number, or it is an association, total number of the organisms belonging to different species or several populations. Population means the total number of individuals. The total number of individuals belonging to same species is called as a population, and the total number of individuals or the organisms belonging to all the species is called as a community. So it is a local association or aggregation. It is a local association or the aggregation of several populations or large number of species or whatever the number of species present in the respective area that forms the community. So the community is technically defined as a biota. So total number of the biotic community or biota or the living organisms may be belonging to several species, but the total number of organisms belonging to different species is called as a community or a biotic community. So it is a local association. So when we consider a limited area with respect to the community, then the whatever the total number of the organisms belonging to different species present in that area is called as a community. So it is a local association of several populations of the different species. According to Krebs, 1972, a community is an assemblage. Community is an assemblage of the populations of living organisms in a definite area or a habitat. So this is again the same definition, that is the repetition of the previous definitions. According to Krebs in 1972, a community is an assemblage of the populations. Community is an assemblage of the populations of living organisms in a definite area or habitat. So this is just a assemblage. Community is an assemblage of the populations or several populations of living organisms in a particular area or in a definite area or the habitat. According to Clark in 1954, According to Clark, in 1954, community is a group of mutually adjusted species of the plants and animals inhabiting in a natural area. So, according to Clark, the community is a group of mutually adjusted species of the plants and animals. Mutually adjusted means the species of the plants and animals which are adjusted mutually means they are beneficial or having relationship with the exchange of their needs. There is a sort of relationship between the plants and animals, and these are mutually adjusted means these are having or these exhibits the helping nature to one another. These are mutually adjusted, or these might be independent. These might be dependent on one another. So plants and animals inhabiting in a natural area or the particular region, they are mutually adjusted or dependent upon one another or having symbiotic relationship so as to help one another. So according to Clark in 1954, community is a group of mutually adjusted species, mutually adjusted species of plants and animals inhabiting means living in a natural area. He used the term biocenoz. He used the term biocenoz to the community, a short form of the word biocenosis, coined by Mobius in 1880 for the community. So, Mobius in 1880 coined the term biocenoz or biocenosis to the community, that is an association of different organisms, that is an association of different organisms or different species forming a closely integrated community. Forming a closely integrated community means showing the interdependence of one another. So, according to Mobius, the term he used the term biocenosis, which is the short form of the word biocenosis, and this term is coined by Mobius in 1880 for the community. And thus, community is, or that is, biocenosis or biocenosis means an association of different organisms forming a closely integrated community. When territorial ranges or boundaries, boundaries, when territorial ranges or the boundaries of several species overlap, populations of these different species may coexist or occurs within a given limited area. The organisms in such an area represent a community. So a community always contains plants as well as animals because both are very essential for the survival of the community. So animals or plants alone cannot exist, but the presence or evidence or existence of the plants and animals is essential for the survival of the community or for the survival of the both. That is, plants and animals both are essential in the community so that the survival of both is possible. So, when territorial ranges, that is boundaries, when territorial ranges or the boundaries of several species overlap, means there is a overlapping of the boundaries of the territories, and at the boundaries or the at the regions of the overlapping, at the regions of the overlapping shows more number of individuals belonging to different species or from both the territories, and this will form a community at the point of overlapping. So, when territorial ranges or boundaries of several species overlap, populations of these different species may coexist or occurs within a given limited area or at the point or region of the overlapping of the two territories where there is a presence of or coexistence of different species of the different territories altogether, and this will form a community. So the organisms in such an area, so the organisms belonging to different species or different territories in such an area or the area of overlapping represents community. A community contains plants as well as animals because both are very essential for the survival of the community. Means the community always comprises plants, animals, and also the microorganisms. So this is what about the introduction regarding the community. Then we'll also explain some aspects regarding the community. So this is the image. This is the image showing two territories, that is territory A and territory B. Territory A and territory B from two sides, and at the point of overlapping, there is a presence of the populations or the species of organisms from both territories, that is territory A and territory B, which are having the populations of the species A and B. So at the point of overlapping, the species of the organisms or the animals or the plants which are existing belonging to the species of the both territories, that is species A as well as species B, in the uh, point of intersect or the point of overlapping, and thus the figure shows the population of species A and B. The figure shows the population of species A and B coexisting within a given limited area as a community, that is in a center. We can see in the center where the two territories overlap shows the species A and species B both in a overlapping region of the both the territories or both the species, means this will form a community. Then we'll explain the remaining aspects of the community. Kendegg in 1947, the ecologist Kendegg in 1947 and Smith in 1977 have divided the biotic communities into two types. So these two ecologists who defined the community with a two types, biotic community with a two types. That is major or autotrophic communities, which includes plants. The first type of biotic community, which Kendegg and Smith have divided into two biotic communities, that is major and minor, or autotrophic and heterotrophic, containing either plants or the animals in the community. So, Kendegg and Smith, who have divided the biotic communities into two types, the first one, that is major or autotrophic community, major because this will have the larger population or a larger biomass. Larger populations, larger number of populations, or might be having a larger biomass, including the plants, that is a plant community. So, major or autotrophic community is formed by the plants. So, the major or autotrophic or plant communities together with their habitats form more or less complete forms more or less complete and self-sustaining units for the indispensable input of the solar energy. It means the major community or the autotrophic community is mainly formed by the plant communities or plant species in the respective habitats. And this will form a more or less complete and self-sustaining units because that will utilize whatever the solar energy uh, released from the sun in that area that will be trapped by the plant community and will be used for the process of photosynthesis. So, this is the first community, that is major or autotrophic community, which includes the plants. Then second type of the biotic community, that is minor or smaller. It is obviously it is a smaller, minor or heterotrophic community which includes animals or whatever the animal species present in the respective habitat will be called as the minor or heterotrophic community which includes animals and which are secondary aggregations. So, the minor or heterotrophic communities are the secondary aggregations within the major communities or the autotrophic communities and are not completely independent units as far as circulation of energy is concerned. In short, or it means the minor or the heterotrophic community is completely dependent upon the major community or autotrophic community, which is including only the plants. So, it is indicating that the minor or heterotrophic community, including animals, are completely dependent upon the major community or the autotrophic community for their energy need or for their food need. That is, they are dependent or depend on the major communities or the plants for their energy source. So, according to Kendegg and Smith, who divided the biotic community into two types, that is major community and minor community. Major community is autotrophic community or self-sustaining units or the self-sustaining communities, including plants, and which are using the solar energy and transforming it into a chemical energy in the form of carbohydrates. And thus, these are self-plant community or the autotrophic communities are the self-sustaining communities or the units. But the minor communities or the heterotrophic communities, which are composed of the animals, that are the secondary aggregations of the secondary aggregation of the uh, animals or the heterotrophic communities or the animals which are occurring in the major communities or maybe in the forest, for example, that is, which are occurring in the major communities and are not completely independent and are not completely independent units as far as circulation of energy is concerned. Means the heterotrophic community or minor communities or the animal communities are solely dependent upon the major communities or the plant communities for their energy source or the food. For example, any forest, for example, any forest forms any forest forms the major community while the community existing on any microhabitat while the community existing on any microhabitat or on a limited area on a limited area which is occurring within the forest, is the minor community. So, for example, in a forest community or in the forest, for example, the large area of the forest will form the major community, and any restricted or limited region in the forest forms the microhabitat or a small community or a secondary community which is occurring in the forest is the minor community, and which might contain the secondary aggregation of the animals which are dependent upon the autotrophic community or the plant communities whatever present in the respective microhabitat or the macrohabitat or the total area of the forest also. Then community structure. Already we have explained uh, 2-3 times, that is community structure. The community is mainly composed of three types of organisms. The community is the community is mainly composed of three type of organisms such as one producers. So producers, these are the autotrophs or the plants. Producers are the autotrophs, that is green plants, algae, green flagellates, etc. And these producers are capable of synthesizing complex organic molecules in presence of radiant energy of the sun through the process of photosynthesis. So, the producers are the autotrophs or the green plants, and which are performing the process of photosynthesis in presence of carbon dioxide and the sunlight, or in presence of chlorophyll undergoing the process of photosynthesis and transforming carbon dioxide and water into a complex chemical energy or the molecules in the form of carbohydrates. So, during this process of the photosynthesis, the autotrophs or the green plants produce the energy in the form of carbohydrates, and which is utilized for the growth of the plant, and excess of which will be shared to the heterotrophs. So, heterotrophs are the animal communities, heterotrophs or the animal communities using the plants as a food. So the producers are the producers of the energy. They are autotrophs or the green plants, and which are capable of synthesizing complex organic molecules of the carbohydrates in presence of sunlight through the process of photosynthesis. Means the radiant energy of the sun is converted into a chemical energy and stored in the form of complex organic molecules of the carbohydrates during the process of photosynthesis. So this is what about the producers. Then second uh, type of organisms which are also occurring in the community. First one is producer, second is consumer. So consumers are the heterotrophs. The consumers are the heterotrophs and are animals that feed upon other organisms, and they are incapable of synthesizing their own food. Means they cannot prepare their own food, they cannot synthesize their own food. The consumers which feed directly on the plants or the products of the plants are called as herbivores. So consumers are dependent on the producers. Consumers are dependent on the producers for their food or for their energy need. So the community is mainly composed of three type of organisms. One is producer, that is green plants, and second is the consumers. So the consumers are heterotrophs, completely dependent upon the plants or the autotrophs or the producers for their energy need or the food. And the heterotrophs are the animals which are feeding upon the other organisms or the plants or the plant products called as herbivores or primary herbivores. These are called as herbivores. So consumers which are feeding upon the plants or plant products are called as herbivores. And these are primary consumers. So herbivores are called as the primary consumers, for example, bisons, deers, etc. And these primary consumers which feed on other animals and consumers which feed on other animals are called as carnivores. So, at first, the heterotrophs or the animals which are directly feeding onto the plants and plant parts are called as herbivores or the primary consumers, and the example is bisons, deers, sheep, goat, etc., which are feeding on the plants or plant products directly, called as herbivores or the primary consumers. Then the consumers which feed on other animals are called as carnivores, are also called as secondary consumers. So the carnivore animals which are feeding on to the herbivore animals are called as the carnivores or the secondary consumers. Similarly, the tertiary consumers or the animals which are feeding on to the secondary consumers or the carnivores are called as tertiary consumers which are feeding on the secondary consumers, and examples are lions, tigers, etc. Tiger or lions, these are the top carnivore animals which are feeding on to the secondary consumers or the carnivores. Then third type of organisms which are forming a part of the community, that is decomposers. So these are also heterotrophs. Decomposers are also heterotrophs, means these are also unable to synthesize their food, but are again dependent upon the other organisms, that is on the plants and animals. So other plants and animals which are used by the decomposers as a food, and this includes bacteria and fungi. So there are different type of uh, heterotrophs such as bacteria and fungi, which are called as decomposers, because which decompose and break down the complex organic substances into simple abiotic substances, and these are also called as saprotrophs or saprophages. So, the decomposers are the microorganisms, including bacteria and fungi, which are also heterotrophs, which are also unable to synthesize their own food, and they are dependent for their food or food energy on other organisms, or that is plants and animals. So, other plants and animals are used or decomposed or broken down into a simple form of the abiotic substances, that is organic to inorganic. So organic substances or the organic materials of the plant and animal origin, organic substances, complex organic substances of the plant and animal origin are decomposed by the decomposers or bacteria and fungi into simple abiotic substances, and thus are called as decomposers. These are also called as saprotrophs or saprophages. So this is about the community structure. So the community structure is composed of three type of organisms, that is producers, consumers, and the decomposers. So this is what about the community structure. Then we'll explain the characteristics of the community. Characteristics of the community. So all communities have certain characteristics in the common. All communities have certain characteristics in a common. So, for example, any community may be forest community, may be aquatic community, or a pond community, or a sea or estuary. So, whatever the habitats may be terrestrial or the aquatic, there are communities. So in a particular area or in a particular region of the respective habitat will have a community. So whatever the communities may be, atmospheric or terrestrial or the aquatic type, so all the communities are having certain common characteristics, and their maintenance is governed by similar forces. So, for the maintenance of the every community, there are certain common characteristics, and maintenance of all the communities, maintenance of the all communities is governed by similar forces. Like other living entities, like other living entities, a community grows. Like other living entities or living organisms, like other living organisms, a community grows. A community grows, develops, passes through a stable, mature phase. Every community grows, develops, passes through a stable, mature phase, then reproduces, and ultimately dies. So, activities, whatever the activities occurring or happening throughout the life of every species of organism that are happening in case of community also. So all these activities, that is growth, development, maturity, reproduction, or the death. So these are the regular or the sequential events. These are the regular or the sequential events happening in case of every species of the organism. And since all the species or the different species of the organism which are forming the community in a particular habitat. So no doubt every community or all the communities grows, develops, passes through a stable mature phase, undergoing reproduction, and ultimately or finally dies. Such community life cycle, such community life cycle taking hundreds or thousands of years. Such community life cycles, taking hundreds or thousands of years, result from an interaction between organisms and their environment. So communities do not have exact limit. Communities do not have exact limit or a span, but tend to overlap each other but tend to overlap each other. Animals frequently shift. Animals frequently shift from one community to another. Usually there is a migration of the animals, but the plants cannot. So autotrophs, which are stable or stationary, but which are just replaced, the community of the plants are simply replaced in a respective region or in the particular habitat, but the animals can move, animals can migrate frequently from one community to another community because of seasonal or other variations, because of seasonal changes or the adverse conditions might occur in the respective habitat or in the ecosystem, and this will lead to the migration of the animals, shifting of the animal community from one community to other community. So this is what about the introduction of the community, and there are some characteristics of the community are as follows. And these characteristics of the community which are in a different type. So there are different type of or different characteristics of the community which are explained as follows, or such as species richness, dominance, that is species dominance or community dominance, species richness, dominance, species diversity, abundance, that is again abundance or community abundance, then stratification and ecotone and age effect. So these are the some of the important characteristics of the community, such as species richness, dominance, species diversity, abundance, stratification, ecotone, and age effect. So, we'll explain all these characteristics of the community one by one in a next lecture. So, today we'll stop here. Next time we'll continue with the first characteristics of the community, that is species richness next time. Till then, bye. Thank you.